well, welcome back, Merc Nation, to the Merc Method. I'm your host, as always, Eric, and I just want to thank you for coming and listening to the podcast today. I feel like I'm going to talk a little bit about my dad. And if you're not up to speed, my dad has been gone for a little over 5.5 years. And there are a lot of things that are happening in my life right now that it's kind of one of those things where I would like to talk to him and I cannot. And I know that that kind of hits home with some people. If you've just recently lost someone, or maybe you had someone that passed away a very long time ago, it really doesn't change, right? I know that you want to talk to them all the time. And that's kind of where I'm at today. And I think we're going to talk about it a little bit and, unravel some of that and, why that's okay to miss them and want to talk to them and, sit in your feels because it's normal. It's valid. You need to feel those feelings. And, that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit. No real scripted anything, just feels, just emotions. Kind of how I feel. Maybe it's something that you feel as well, because there's a lot of times when, I need some clarification, and he was really good at sitting and listening to me, talk and vent. And, he was, my best friend and, my hero. And it took me a long time to kind of figure that out, which sucked because, I got to see both sides of him with working, with him and alongside of him. And he was all over his job. It was such a different vibe. And then you see him outside of work and he's just this big teddy bear and, wants to help everybody. And he wanted to help everybody at his job too. But as his son watching it, it's amazing to see both sides of it. But then, just missing that part of just hearing him talk to you. And especially when you're in, a situation where you just need some clarification or some advice would be great. Um, and I know people say that, you can talk to them. I tell people the same thing. It's healthy to talk to them and, share your feelings with them. But, every once in a great while, I would love to just hear his side of the story. And I know that's not happening, but he also does send me signs on things that are going to be okay. I've gotten a few of those lately, but I'm kind of just sitting in it right now. And I thought that I would just kind of share with you guys and, see if that, again, hits home with you. And maybe that can also make you feel like you're not really on a planet by yourself. As somebody who talks to people about death every week, really, that, I grew up watching, my grandparents pass away and other people's grandparents pass away. So you get this facade that it's, older people that are the ones to go first. And being in this profession and doing, grief support and watching people pass at all ages, it's, you're never immune to the age that you're going to be taken from this world. And that's the hard part of life, right? You never know. You don't know what your time is. You don't know when your time is up. And you definitely don't think that, for me, like, my parents are going to go anywhere, especially earlier than later. And at some point, usually in, your adult life, early adult life, you realize you're not exempt either. My dad passed away. I realized that I could go at any time. And I used to fear death until he passed away. And then I kind of looked at the idea of when my time is up, it's up. And then in that breath, I also will meet up with him. So it's gotten a little easier for me to, kind of grasp the concept. There's other things involved with it too that makes it not so easy, but it softens it for me a little bit. When we're talking about my dad or losing somebody in general, you don't lose a lot of the feelings of anger or guilt because you never really accept someone passing away. You learn to live within it. You go about your life molding it around the passing of someone. Your grief never goes away. And I tell everybody that you don't want to get rid of the grief because the grief is just that love you have for that person that has nowhere else to go. And I wrote that book because for the longest time, I didn't know what to do with all of these losses instead of just sit in anger and then realize that there's a lot of other people that are going through similar situations that I wanted to show up for. And that's what usually keeps me going when, I'm not having a great day or I know that other people are going through this similar situations. And that's why I say, you be kind to other people because you don't know what they're going through. And especially if you've lost someone recently, you're kind of just in a fog right now. Doesn't feel like reality. If you're going to be doing the arrangements or you just did the arrangements or it's been a month or a couple of months, it's still kind of a fog state because what's happening is your brain doesn't understand that that person is gone yet because you've had that wiring for so long that they've been in your life that it's trying to figure it out and that's why you feel lost. I get it. It sucks. Death sucks. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. It's a piece of crap. But unfortunately that I've learned that the only way out of it is through it. You can't hide from it. Grief will find you. And the longer that you push it aside, the harder it hits you and the more frequent it hits you. There's nothing wrong with crying. Your grief is not the same as someone else's. You don't have a time frame. You can't let other people tell you how fast or how slow or how in general to grieve. If you're missing that person that passed away 10 years ago, then you're missing that person. If you're with somebody or had this person in your life for so long, do you expect it to be gone in a week? Give me a break. It doesn't happen that way. And yes, when it hits you, it feels like the first time. Because grief never changes sizes. Your environment and yourself change around that grief. One of the things that I struggled with is when my dad passed away, it was a week before I actually started working at a funeral home. The same funeral home that he was actually buried at. And I had to sit with that entire time that I was there. And I could have had so many issues with this. But at the same time, I used this to help other people, to understand, at least on a baseline level, where their grief is coming from. But my grief is not the same as theirs. It never will be. I am not them, they are not me. But loss is loss. There's many different levels of it. But that empathy that comes with that when you lost your parent and then you have to do this and talk about death every single day, it strengthens you in a way that you will never understand unless you've gone through it. To this day, I'm still talking about it. But it helps me to talk about it. But losing a parent or a sibling is not just losing a person, it's losing a piece of your history with them, your identity, your sense of grounding in the world. Today, that's what I'm sitting with, that kind of grief. If you just lost a close loved one, again, you're probably in that shock phase. And your loved one, whether it's a parent, a sibling, a child, whoever it may be, grandparent, even if you knew it was coming, it doesn't make it any easier. The moment it becomes real is surreal. Your brain is the problem that struggles with it. Sometimes when people say they're gone, they're passed away, it doesn't really land for you. It kind of sits there like in that fog. That's what I'm talking about, right? It's a miscommunication, a misunderstanding. There's a strange split between what you intellectually know and what your heart refuses to accept. That's kind of where I'm at with my feels right now. Again, I told you, I don't think the word acceptance is a good idea. I'm not really accepting where he's at right now. Sometimes I feel like that's not the case. Sometimes I feel that, I'll talk to him later. It goes away, trust me. But for that minute, I'm still waiting for him to call. For me, losing a parent carries a specific kind of gravity. Losing my dad, he was an anchor. He knew me before I knew me. There were things that him and I talked about that no one will ever understand. Those are the kind of things that hit me because I don't want to share those with other people. When you lose someone, especially a parent, you feel a little untethered. Even if you're a fully grown adult, even if you have your own family, there can be that deep, almost primal feeling of being orphaned. If you lose a sibling, you may feel like your role in the family has changed overnight, because it has. Whether you were the younger one, now you feel exposed, or maybe you were the older one and now you feel the weight of responsibility differently. Your grief is just not emotional pain, it is a reorganization of who you are in relation to the world now. It's important to let everybody know because I've been doing this for a while. Grief does not mean you failed. You're not a failure. If you have regret, that doesn't mean you didn't love deeply. Every relationship has imperfections. Every family has conflict. You can love someone fiercely and still have unresolved tensions. You can miss someone profoundly and still remember the ways they hurt you. Grief isn't always clean. Some of the biggest realizations that people come to is that the world doesn't stop. You might feel like everything's changed. You might feel like the world should stop. It's stopping for you, but it's not realistically for everyone else. People go to work, people talk about things, people laugh. Sometimes you feel like they don't understand what's going on. Well, they don't. They might on that surface level, but they don't know exactly what you're going through. That's why I tell people to be present for each other. All of this can create isolation from people. You got to be careful. You may withdraw because explaining your pain feels exhausting and nobody understands what you're talking about. Because people expect you, or you think they expect you to be strong. You got to remember that strength and grief is often misunderstood because it's not the absence of crying and not pretending that you're okay, because you're not okay. And that's totally valid. You don't have to be okay in the situation. No one told you that you have to have it all together. And if they did, they're wrong. You have to feel what you feel without judgment. You have to reach out to people when the silence becomes too heavy for you. Don't sit in it by yourself because you're not by yourself. But you have to reach out. If you don't tell people that you're not okay, then people will assume you're okay and you're being strong. Let them know that you're not fine. because it's okay to not be fine. For me, this is something that has already passed because I haven't had those firsts in a long time. But if you just lost somebody, that's going to be heavy ones to carry. Holidays, birthdays. But it's okay because you can look at it from a different perspective. You can look at it from the fact that they are gone, but also you can remember the good times when they were here. That's how those people continue to go. I used a line one time, I put it in one of the earlier podcasts that I talked to a lady and I said, I've heard that you die twice. The day that you leave this earth and the day that we stop talking about you. So don't stop talking about your loved one. Use the strength that they had for others. Use it for yourself. You want them to live on? Then use what they gave. Use the light that they gave to use for yourself and for other people. Because that will also help you through this healing process. Especially if you're doing that for the right reasons and you're doing it for your loved one. You're keeping them present. I know there's going to be a lot of, people that balk on this, and it's okay. I get it. But my dad was the best. My dad was so nice to everybody. I replay so many things that he did for other people for no reason whatsoever other than to be kind. He didn't expect anything back. He just did it. He was in a lot of pain. He never went to the hospital. He never told anybody when he was in pain. That's a guy thing, apparently. But that acts of kindness are the things that I miss the most, and listening to the nice things that people say about my dad while he was present. That's the legacy that I'm trying to leave here. That I am remembered for being kind to other people. If you've gotten this far in this podcast and you're listening to this episode and you've just recently lost someone, you're not alone. There is light, but it's very, very foggy right now, and that's okay too. You will not be alone in this journey. There are people here to listen to you. I'm here to listen. If anybody is struggling, they want to talk, DM me in my Instagram on the Merc Method. You are not alone in this, but it is a process and it will take time. And you have to understand how you respond to people, because when someone passes away, some people can get dark. But you have to remember how to respond. And is it going to be a good response to the person you just lost? Don't shorten yourself for other people's expectations of grief. You're better than that. Your loved one deserves better than that. Keep talking to your loved one. Write to them. If you're not journaling already, do it. And I tell people you don't have to call it a journal. I don't care if you're writing on a napkin, but write to them. Talk to them. They're listening. It can be scary right now because this is the newest version of you you've ever been, especially without them. But you're not alone. We can figure it out together, but don't rush grief. Grief has its own timetable. I myself continuously ask my dad for signs. If I'm struggling, which I'm struggling a little bit right now, which is okay, I straight up ask him if everything's going to be okay. My dad has a sense of humor when he sends me signs, so he might play his favorite song in a random coffee shop or when I'm getting lunch or, something specific for myself that I would know and maybe my short circle of people. But it's very, very distinctive. Your loved one will do this too when you need it the most. But again, if it's new to you now, it's going to take some time. You're in that fog state that I like to say that you just kind of don't know if you're coming or going. You're just trying to be present, especially if you have family, kids. Talk to them about who you lost. Keep them present. They're there. They're just not there physically, but they're definitely watching. If you're sitting with a loss right now or struggling with somebody who passed maybe some years back, just give yourself permission to grieve in your own way. And remember, there's no timeline. There's no script. People cry openly. It's okay. Some people process quietly. That's okay too. I talk about my dad all the time. That's another way of doing it. Talking about them, saying how much you love them and how great of a person they were. Yeah, you're going to cry, but you're also validating how amazing they were. You will never be the same person you were before this loss. And I know that sounds frightening, but that change does not always mean deterioration. It can mean depth, compassion for other people, and a broader understanding of what it means to be human. You'll look at life differently now, but not in a bad way. People that I've talked to that lost someone close describe the before and after of their life. The before version of themselves did not know this kind of pain. The after version carries it, but also carries a deeper awareness of what really truly matters now. You'll get it now. You see life completely in a different light. If you're listening to this and you've lost a parent or a sibling, I want you to know this: your grief is valid. And if you're supporting someone who has experienced loss, remember that your presence matters more than anything that you could say. You do not need to solve their pain. You can't, actually, but you can sit with them in it. You can remember with them. You can say the name out loud of the person who passed. Acknowledging that loss is real. In time, the sharp edges of your grief may soften. The constant ache may become an occasional tenderness. You may find yourself able to think of them and smile often, and you might cry too. But there will always be a quiet space in your heart that belongs to them. That space is not weakness. Remember that. It's just the evidence of your love for them. Losing a close loved one teaches us in the most painful way that our life is fragile. It reminds us that people we assume will always be there will not always be there. I thought my dad would be here forever in pain, but I thought he would live forever. And he didn't. And I was pissed about it for a very long time. And while that truth is devastating, as it can be, it will awaken you too. It will really push you to say, I love you more often, to forgive more quickly, and really to show up fully. Grief is just that price of love we had for our loved ones that passed. And though that cost feels unbearable at times, it exists because the bond mattered. That's why we grieve so hard, because it mattered so much. Because that relationship was real. And because the connection shaped you. If you're walking through this right now, take one breath at a time, okay? One step at a time, not 1 year, not 1 week, just one breath. You survived yesterday. You are surviving this moment. And even in the absence of that person that you deeply loved, your life still holds meaning. The story is still woven into yours. And as long as you carry their memory, their influence continues. And maybe slowly and gently, you will begin to see that while that death ended a life, a cherished life, it did not end the love you had for that person. And it never will. As I close this episode, I want to leave you guys with this, okay? If you've lost a parent or a sibling, someone you felt like part of your foundation, I see you. I see the quiet strength it takes to get out of bed when your world feels permanently altered. I've been there. I see the way you carry memories like fragile glass. I see the way certain dates still ache. And I want you to know there's nothing wrong with you for feeling this. Grief is not something you just get over. Even if there's individuals that are telling you that you should be quote unquote over it by now or just through the process, they are not you. Some days this grief is going to be really heavy for you. It's going to suck. I'm going to just share it with you now. It's going to suck. And some days it might be a little bit softer. But it's still going to exist because the love still exists. And the love that deep does not disappear just because somebody stops breathing. If you can, honor them by living. Speak their name. Tell their stories to people. You might touch other people that are going through similar circumstances. Laugh at the memories you have of them. Cry when you need to. Say the things today that you wish you could say one more time. Let their life remind you that time is fragile and that connection is sacred. If today was hard for you to listen to, take a breath with me right now. Inhale slowly. Hold it. And release. You are still here. Your heart is still beating. There is still life in front of you, even if it looks different than it did before. I want to just thank you guys for sitting in this space with me, letting me vent. Hopefully some of this connected with you and allows you to not feel so alone. Thank you for being willing to feel. Be gentle with yourself and don't wait to love the people who matter most. All right. So as I leave you always, I leave you with this. Stay grounded. Stay kind to yourself. And remember, strength begins with honesty. Until next time.